diet, so we're going to talk mostly about eating solid food today, a lot about the digestive system and how it affects the whole body. My certifications, I'm a specialist in functional nutrition with Irish Strength Institute, so I'm a training institution. I'm a specialist in fitness nutrition with the International Sports Science Association. Digestive care specialist from New Life. I'm certified with the Canadian Society of Health and Molecular Medicine, which treats disease based on nutrient deficiency with a specialty in anti-aging. And the last one is specialist in sports supplementation and necessary. So we'll talk a bit about dieting today. There's a lot of confusion out there as to why people aren't getting certain results, or why is it that I'm following a food diet and I'm not losing weight? Why can't I sleep? Why am I depressed all the time? And we'll talk about food myths and what's the best diet. Everybody's heard, right? There's vegan, there's vegetarian, you've got paleo, which is really making waves right now with 140 bestsellers on New York Times, right? We've got, it's great to eat whole grain, it's great to eat dairy, it isn't. So, when it comes down to it, there's, those are all fad diets. Your diet is actually what you eat. It's what you eat every day. Whether you have a good diet, you have a crappy diet. That's simple, right? So, when it comes to all those diets, where do you start out, right? If you're not sure and you're looking, where to start out, I mean, there's a couple of those plans that I'm a fan of, but they still need to be modified because they're still a fad. Anybody who's done the level 1 here knows all about the zone diet. The zone diet's all right. I like it because it teaches you portion control. It teaches you the size of the meals that you should be eating. In North America, our plates are now this big. We have a habit that we want to fill up our plate. We have to eat till everything is gone. Right? It's a really bad habit in nature. You actually should eat until you feel satisfied and then eat to stop. The other thing that we have in North America is that we just really seem to love processed food, right? So the zone diet still allows that in there a bit. So what is my take on diet and which one is the best? Well, as a basis, a lot of people know me well. I don't know if it's a paleo diet, but I still take a ton of supplements, and there's still a few things that I eat that aren't paleo. So as a basis, paleo is good because the focus on paleo is to eat real food, right? And real food is going to give you real results. And what paleo does, you don't need to look at it as a limiting type of diet. You need to look at it as you're eating food that Mother Nature intended you to eat. From that point, what is your specific objective? Is it to lose body fat? Is it to gain muscle? Is it to sleep better? Is it to just feel better? Then what can you add to that, right? So when we look at a paleo diet, the things that are really cool about it is we're going to focus on grass-fed meats and wild-caught fish. No grains, no dairy. We're going to talk about why those are probably two of the worst things you're probably putting in your body. And a high focus on vegetables that grow above the ground, and then no legumes. Everybody knows what legumes are versus vegetables, beans, lentils, chickpeas, that type of thing. Right? So we'll get into grains first. So why are grains bad? Right over here now, see that there's a huge whole grain push in the food industry. Eat whole grain, eat whole grain, eat whole grain, right? High in fiber, high in omega-3. Well, the problem with grains, and there's a few of them, but the big problem with grains is they're really high in a type of acid. It's called phytic acid. Okay? To break down phytic acid, you need a digestive enzyme that is called phytase. Okay? The human body does not produce phytase. It's produced by insects. Insects eat grain and crops, so they can break it down. So what happens when phytic acid gets into our digestive system and we cannot break it down is that we have an increase in acidity. When you mentioned acidity, and that pH is important. The more acidic you are, the more inflammation you have, the slower you recover. You actually cause damage to your digestive tract. So in your intestine, you're actually causing damage. Poor absorption of nutrients. The big thing with phytic acid that is a huge issue for me, in holistic circles and in natural circles, is what we call an anti-nutrient. So not only does phytic acid cause these problems in the digestive system when you eat grains, and I don't care if it's white or whole wheat or multigrain or ancient grains, they all suck, okay? Phytic acid blocks the absorption of zinc almost completely, magnesium substantially, copper, selenium, all the minerals get blocked when you eat phytic acid because it is a chelator of minerals and it destroys those minerals before they get absorbed into the bloodstream. So a huge thing that happens right now is that we see men that are very estrogen dominant, right? Movies are like becoming like a normal thing, right? We see women that are struggling with weight loss, particularly in the hips and thighs. Men are getting, cortisol-based fat going on, which is what we call the beltline fat. A lot of that relates back to mineral deficiencies, right? The other thing that happens is when you disrupt your gut flora, the healthy bacteria in your gut with phytic acid, is that you really screw up your hormones, right? Whenever we think hormones, everything is how you feel, so you think hormones are produced in your head. It's actually not true. Hormones are actually produce in your gut. 86% of serotonin, which is the hormone that makes you feel good, it makes you feel self-worth, so you look in the mirror, I feel good today, I'm reading the tackle today, I have a positive attitude. 86% of that comes from your stomach. And if your stomach is compromised, your serotonin levels are low. So your body's not stupid either. When one hormone gets out of whack, the other ones go out of whack, because then the difference right between the hormone levels is drastically changed. So if your serotonin is low, and your cortisol is already high, we see cortisol, which is your stress hormone, is pretty high nowadays, right? People have more hectic lives, life is faster, you got the kids, you got work, maybe you're working under fluorescent lighting all day, these lights, if you're under them a couple hours a day is okay. If you're under fluorescent lights for like 8 hours a day, they drastically increase your cortisol. And what they will also do is actually reduce your melatonin, which is your sleep hormone, so you have trouble falling asleep as well. And when you don't fall asleep, you produce less growth hormone and less testosterone. Also, if your zinc is blocked because of the phytic acid in brain, zinc is the primary mineral that your body takes to convert cholesterol from the food you eat and turn it into hormones. Right? Everybody's super worried about the percent of cholesterol. Okay? High cholesterol, I can't say it, but it's total bullshit. Okay? It's a total myth. Right? High cholesterol does not cause heart attacks. Right? The majority of people that have heart attacks don't have high cholesterol. The majority of people with high cholesterol don't have heart attacks. So there's no, it's like you know, don't eat the egg. It's like from decades ago, and just still makes a circle. There's a really good book out by actually a really well-known cardiologist and a nutritionist called Dr. Johnny Bowden called the Great Cholesterol Law. Super good read, really easy to read, kind of dumps it down and explains why cholesterol is not bad. So if you have high cholesterol, I would bet 9 times out of 10, and most people I see, and I do ask for people to bring in their blood work sometimes, that their zinc levels are low. Right? So if your zinc levels are low, you're not taking the dietary cholesterol and converting it into testosterone. So again, your other hormone levels get messed up. If you are also told that you have high cholesterol and your doctor wants to put you on a statin drug, now look, I can't tell you not to listen to your doctor, because I get in huge trouble for that, but you do have the right to demand what's called a particle count. If you're told that your LDL cholesterol is very high, you absolutely have to demand particle. I'm doing something wrong. So, got all kinds of color markers here from fine. Okay. So, there's a blood vessel, right? Really good. So, you have your high density lipoprotein, your HDL, which is your good cholesterol, okay? So those particles, they have a really thick layer. As they go through the blood vessels, if they hit the wall of the blood vessel, they just bounce off. And they just keep going, and they circulate just fine, okay? Your LDL cholesterol is what we call low density lipoprotein. Same type of bubble, very thin membrane, okay? But here's the deal. You have different sizes of LDL, just like your HDL. You have small, medium, and large. So when you demand a particle count on your LDL, what it does is it gives you a percentage, how much of your LDL is the big one, the medium, and the small. Now, if the majority of your LDL, which 9 times out of 10 it will be, the small and the medium, you do not need to do a statin drug. These big guys are the ones that are dangerous because the best example I give, everybody here is filled up a water balloon. You put a little bit of water in a water balloon and you toss it. It just kind of rolls right and flops on the ground. A little bit more, not so much. If you really load up that water balloon, you just drop it from the foot, right? It breaks, right? So the same thing in these big bubbles. It hits your artery, it hits the lining, it breaks open, and it leaves plaque, which will calcify and harden. So then again, you have a smaller artery and not a big one time, and it's flat, right? And again, so there's two reasons for that. There's one, you can develop enough that you block off your artery completely and cut off blood flow. Or the plaque attack just goes into circulation, gets your heart rate brain, then you have a heart attack, right? Or a stroke. So now I'm scaring everybody. But that's why you need to get a particle count, right? So if the majority is not the large ones, you don't need a statin drug, right? What you need to do is cut grains of your diet, get more grass-fed fats or wild-caught fish in there, so your cholesterol can actually be, balanced really well, and take a good zinc supplement. And that's actually really going to help your cholesterol levels. However, you can't just take a zinc supplement and be like, now that I'm supplementing with zinc, I'm still going to eat, my dense toast for breakfast or whatever. Right? You can't do it. Like the phytic acid just really destroys zinc, so you need to get those grains out of there. Now, the other reason that grains are bad, and we're going to tag legumes into this as well, is they're really high in what are called lectins. So here's another anti-nutrient. Lectins are wonderful things, and I'm being hugely sarcastic. So lectins Not quite as bad as phytic acid, but they are really bad and cause a lot of common, really bad symptoms. So when we go and we look at human digestive tract, so again, here's my amazing drawing of intestine. All right, so all along your intestine, we have what we're called the villi. Okay, and these guys all hang out in here. We have lots of them. Okay, so these villi, what they do is when you eat food, you fully liquefied food, you turn it into nutrients, so those nutrients can then get absorbed into the bloodstream and feed your body what it needs. So you can get that zinc, the magnesium, the potassium, phosphorus, calcium, all those great things, right? So the villi are these little tendrils, right? They're kind of like little guard dogs with your probiotic cultures in your gut that are going to allow fully digested food, okay, to get into your bloodstream. Fully digested, liquefied food. What happens when we eat grains and when we eat beans? So see these guys, they're all bunched together and they're really tight. But when we consume lectins, let's say, when we consume phytic acid, what we do is we destroy the villi. You break off villi, you destroy villi, and what you're doing right here is you're leaving holes that go into the capillaries, the past your intestines. So you have all these capillaries, nice little blood vessels that run along. Here's healthy, fully liquefied food, being filtered, getting through, getting nutrients in your bloodstream. Here, guess what's happening? You have undigested food particles. So you have food that is not completely liquefied, right? That is getting into your bloodstream and getting into circulation. What happens when you do this is really bad because you actually set off an immune response. You set off antibodies, right? The best way to know, and leaky gut is becoming a very serious problem, but if you eat a food and you feel like a general numbness over after, or you feel very tired, you feel like your grip strength has gone down, you're having an immune response. And whatever you need to look at what that meal was, you need to stop eating whichever food you believe it caused it. And if there was grains or legumes in that food, that is what caused it. I never realized on this, this is a healthy treat. It's super high in lectins. The other thing that lectins do is they're sugar-binding proteins. So every cell in our body has what's called a lipid layer. Okay? So trillions and trillions of cells, they all have this lipid layer, which is made of a thin membrane of fat, which is actually determined by how healthy of fats you eat. So I'm a huge fan, again, of wild-caught fish and grass-fed meats. And I'll explain again why that's important. That's going to determine how healthy every cell in your body is. But when we consume phytic acid and we consume these lectins, what lectins do is they actually create like a really sticky gel around cells, right? Because all your cells communicate to one another. But when we consume these lectins, what happens is with this like glue that goes around, your cells actually kind of start to glue together and they can't communicate anymore. There's a barrier there. So your body's not communicating with itself, and cells are communicating with themselves as well as they need to be, just because you've eaten beans, right? The other thing that lectins do is that they ferment really, really well in the gut, right? So everybody's heard the saying, beans, magical fruit, right? Listen, so here's where we get into what I call hard science. It's always really funny. But here's how to know what's going on in your body. If you eat a food, okay, and it makes you fart, and that fart is loud, and there is no smell, this is really loud, like a trumpet or somebody strangling a duck, then you have an enzyme problem, okay? You ate foods where your body does not have the proper enzymes to completely break them down, and that is causing gas or it doesn't smell. If you have those silent but deadlies, you fart, nobody knows until 30 seconds later, then everybody knows, and then you escape. Okay? You have a lot of bad bacteria in your gut, right? So in your gut, you have really good bacteria. You have a lot of, probiotic cultures, human colonies probiotics that you're born with, right? Depending on what you eat, depends on how well they flourish, how well they multiply, how healthy your gut is, how much of that feel-good hormone serotonin you're going to produce, right? It's all based on those probiotic cultures. However, there's bad bacteria too. So when we look at a real food diet, right, like paleo with a few things added, which we'll talk about what to add later, you feed the good bacteria, right? They love good natural food. Food that humans are supposed to eat, the probiotic cultures thrive on. They grow, they multiply, you have more good bacteria, you balance out your gut, you have better hormones, all kinds of great things, better sleep, better sense of well-being. However, when we eat processed foods, when we eat grains, and when we eat things that contain lectins, you really feed the bad bacteria in your gut. So the best example I give, so you use a dishcloth, you use warm water, you forget to rinse it out cold, you leave it sitting on the counter, right? Does anybody know, like, ever seen the smell of the stinky dishcloth? You touch it, you can't smell your hands for like 2 days. That is bad bacteria. Bad bacteria smells really bad, right? So if you fart and it smells bad, it means you have a lot of bad bacteria in your gut. You're probably going to get sick pretty soon if you don't get some kind of infection. So you need to take care of that, right? And the way you take care of that is, again, not eat grains, not eat legumes, and especially refined sugar, right? Those bad bacteria love refined sugar, and the good bacteria don't really want to eat it. But again, on the inverse, eat a real food diet, right? The good bacteria love it. They love natural amylopectin, right? They love starches. They love certain saccharides. The bad bacteria, not so much. They can eat it, but they really tend not to, right? So you need to balance that. Now, why do I say grass-fed meats and wild-caught fish? So here I am, crapping all over grains, telling you how bad they are and why you should not eat them. So, we've all heard the saying, you are what you eat, right? Have you heard that? When it comes to animal-based protein, you are what they ate, okay? So if you're going to the grocery store, you're buying grain-fed beef and grain-fed salmon, you might as well just keep eating your bread, right? So the reason you want to eat those is to get healthy and get the proteins, but through bioaccumulation, you are getting a higher amount of omega-6 and a lower amount of omega-3, right? So the ideal ratio of omega-6, so if there's questions throughout, by the way, like stop me because I'll just ramble forever, and I really want questions. These all here, by the way, are participatory prizes, so people that participate will get free stuff. So just encourage questions so we just sit there like this. People should participate, you're all drinking free coffee.
Do you like stuff? Okay, so.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. So if you,
I don't like fish.
are you, so you're not allergic, you just don't like it?
Well, I tried the fish oils and all my gums become like really tingly.
So you,
I don't know if I'm allergic or
You
I
could-
know
you-
I don't like it.
yeah, you could try krill oil as another option, okay? Which could work for you if you actually to the fish. But it also comes down to, and here's where it comes down to supplements. We'll talk a little bit about supplements, okay? Supplements, just like food, there's different quality of supplements, right? I have a lot of people come in and they see like my 240 cap bottle of, fish oil, and it's $45, and people are like, I get that at Costco, and there's 300 caps, and it's $10. Okay, well, I'm just talking about those farm salmon that were fed grain. Where do you think the oil in those capsules is coming from, right? So what's happening is the cheaper fish oils are the ones that don't go through certifications, right? Like, there's 3 companies. Okay, so there's like, right now there's 186 companies that produce fish oil in the world that I know of. There's 3 that I would take. Out of the 186, there's only 3 companies I would take. One is Ascenta, they're actually based out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. 2 is Progressive, and the 3rd one is from Sweden called Nordic Naturals.
That's the progressive I had in my body.
Yeah. So then you probably get some type of issue. Does she know your blood type?
Huh?
You know your blood type out here?
I think it's pretty hot.
Yeah. So fish for you, you're great. So try krill oil. You could try krill oil. Yeah. For krill oil producers, it will be either Nordic Naturals or a company called Now. NOW. The 2 krill oils that you can try.
Do you have it in your store?
I carry Now. I carry a small amount of krill oil. I don't carry a lot of krill oil. Krill oil is like a main food source for the ocean. So I prefer people take fish oil so that we don't overfish krill. Krill are really essential. But for people that can't take fish oil, some people are allergic to fish or don't tolerate, then they generally tolerate krill oil as well. Yeah, so
Is there like
yeah, it has the DHA and EPA, right? Yep. So, good question. So, DHA and EPA are the 2 things we find in the omega-3, which we will find higher concentrations in that grass-fed beef and waffle salmon and less omega-6. Because omega-6 is pro-inflammatory, right? Look at the traditional North American diet. Because of all these grains and all the friggin' dairy that we have, right? The ratio that you're supposed to have of omega-3 to omega-6, okay, is supposed to be 3 to 1. You know what it is in North America? 20 to 1. 20 to 1. Right? So almost 7 times higher omega-6 than omega-3. Which is why we see that 85% of disease in North America right now is inflammation-based. If it ends in itis, itis just means inflammation. Arthritis, colitis, bursitis, dermatitis, if it ends in itis, means inflammation disease. We have other ones that don't end in itis, right? Crohn's is another really bad one, things like that. But 85% of disease is based on inflammation, right? And it's going up, right? So a lot of that has to do with the amount of omega-6. So you really need to make sure, like, just go to the farmer's market, right? Like, everybody's got a farmer's market on time, it's so expensive. Look, 5 stores, 2 kids, a wife doing her master's, and then when I get home at night, I gotta give them back time, and I gotta sit down and answer the freaking 96 emails I didn't have time while I was at the store. So, number 1, you have time. Number 2, you have the freaking time. Don't mean you don't have time. They go get good food, okay? If I saw you like 15 of my posts on Instagram, you have time to go to the farmer's market and get healthy food, okay? So, and not only is it great because you're supporting your local economy, right? You think Superstore, Costco, or Sobeys notices if you're not going to go from one week to the next. I don't give a shit, okay? But if you go and you're supporting, say, like that guy at the farmer's market, like you're going every couple of weeks and giving him $100, and 5 or 6 of you guys are doing that to an independent farmer that's like local, that's huge for him, right? Huge. Plus you're getting better quality food that you're putting into your system, right? Like the decision is simple, right? Like best decision ever, worst decision ever. I'm not saying like never eat grains and never eat dairy. Like I like pizza. Pizza's awesome, but it's that's got to be a cheat meal, right? Like I get like hungover when I have cheat meals. I don't drink so it's like I have like a cheat meal the next day, or I'm like a total waste of it, useless. So, and that's what happens, right? Is that we kind of think that we feel good, right? We think that the way we feel every day is acceptable because that's the way we're eating, it's the way we're brought up. Look, food has drastically changed from the time that your grandmother was eating to the time that we're eating now, right? Yep.
What about the meat at our local meat markets?
So ask them. You can ask if they can get you grass-fed,
Okay.
right? Grass-fed. If it's pig, you want to ask for pasture-fed because pigs eat meat and vegetables, right? So pasture, yeah. So eggs, eggs are a huge one, right? Like get free-range hen's eggs if at all possible. Eggs are so modified and so brutal, and it's just brutal. Like if I would challenge anybody here, okay, to never eat like a commercial egg for like 3 weeks, right? Have a couple eggs every couple days, and then I just dare you to eat 2 commercial eggs. It tastes like licking a tin can. Absolutely brutal. I can't even go to course, and it totally sucks. Yeah. Not that I want to pay $40 for breakfast anymore. Mark?
What's the recommended? So if I love fish and have fish 3-4 times a week, do I still need? I mean, supplements are important. How much is overdoing it?
Yes, so you can overdo it. You can overdo it, right? Because EPA is very, very anti-inflammatory. Will kill those inflammatory diseases. Too much EPA will can feed your blood. And we're talking a lot, right? So for me, like fish oil, I consider it like a grocery supplement. For me, it's a staple. Because even if you're eating fish like 4 or 5 times a week, because of the way we've been brought up, because of the diets we've eaten over the years, because of that drastic ratio of 20 to 1, right? Which should be 3 to 1. Just to offset that, I was like. You gotta remember when you take a fish oil supplement in Canada, the Health Canada recommends the minimum amount required to prevent the onset of disease. They don't recommend the optimal amount, they recommend the minimum amount to prevent disease, right? So I double it, right? It says a teaspoon a day, I'll do 2 teaspoons a day. If I train really hard that day, I might do 3. But that would cap it off at 3, right? And then I give a fish oil.
And then you have fish additional.
Yeah, and you can still eat wild caught fish and stuff like that as well. Yeah.
What about macadamia nut oil? Is that good?
So it's still healthy fats, right? But it's not going to have the EPA and DHA content that fish is going to have, right? So you want EPA and you want the DHA. You are going to get healthy fats in nuts that boost acetylcholine, and acetylcholine is really cool shit. Acetylcholine is this awesome neurotransmitter that we produce, and what it does is it takes our brain and connects it to our body so we have better memory, focus, and relation coordination to tasks. So say you train Ollie lifts, acetylcholine is really, really, really cool, right? But no EPA, DHA. You're not getting any anti-inflammatory benefits. DHA is for cognitive function. It protects the brain. It's anti-inflammatory for the brain, so you prevent the onset of Alzheimer's. You have better short-term memory, right? That's why you'll see like a lot of like baby formulas and stuff. It's loaded with DHA. Or if I actually had my kids take fish oil, and I have the kids one at home. This one is like a 2 to 1 or a really high potency 3 to 1 EPA to DHA. The kids ones are reversed. It's actually 3 to 1 DHA to EPA. Because kids haven't built up a bunch of inflammation in the first 3 years of their life. I mean, unless you've really been just, annihilating your kid. But the DHA for the developing brain is really, really, really good.
So what would you recommend? Keep taking the macadamia nut oil and start taking fish oil?
You can say you're not getting nut oil. Just make sure that it's at room temperature. Right? You never want to cook with any nut oils whatsoever. Right? The only oil you should ever cook with is coconut oil or pure MCT oil, right? And don't cook like, olive oil is still okay, it's still pretty high in omega 6, but it's heart healthy, so you need to make your own dressing versus having a sugary commercial dressing. And olive oil, balsamic would be your choice. Macadamia nut oil, avocado oil would be great. Coconut oil is really, really good. There's a couple things in coconut oil that are really cool. One is called lauric acid. Okay, lauric acid, awesome. So if you get a really cool coconut oil that has a high lauric acid content, lauric acid increases immunity and strengthens the villi and strengthens your digestive tract and strengthens your immunity. So it's like a super cool buster. You take like 3,000 units of vitamin D a day and just eat a tablespoon of like high lauric acid content coconut oil. Like that's really good at killing colds. Right. The other thing that coconut oil has a high content of is what's called MCT oil, medium chain triglyceride. So it's a saturated fat, but it's medium chain. So it's 2 carbons shorter than the animal-based saturated fat. Right? And that's actually really cool for people that are low carb dieters. MCT can be used up like a carbohydrate to produce fat, so it gives you energy. But the other thing MCT does is that it increases your body temperature. When you have a higher consistent core temperature, you burn fat more effectively. Right? But the other thing that's great, people are so scared of saturated fat. No, eat saturated fat. You need that. You want the cholesterol content, right? You want cholesterol content if you're not eating grains, so that your zinc can turn it into hormones. So, if you want to be a testosterone-making machine, eat some saturated fat and have a good zinc supplement. Keep grains out of your diet.
What type of fish do you recommend?
Fatty fish are great. Now, remember through bioaccumulation, even if they're wild caught, they can pick up pollutants. So I like small fish. Okay? Wild caught salmon is great. Wild caught trout is great. Sardines, herring, mackerel are great. Tuna, not so great. Alright? You want tuna like once or twice a month, I guess. Okay? But really big fish live for a really long time. Okay? And our oceans now are really polluted. Right? We really screwed them up. So there's a lot of mercury and lead and all the wonderful hormones from the girls' pee that are on birth control make their way into the ocean. And there's like so many more female fish now. It's crazy. It's true. This is actually true. So the bigger the fish are and the longer their lifespan, the more the stuff they pick up. So sardines, anchovies, mackerel, herring, we're going to pick up a little bit, right? We're going to pick up a little bit of it, but then they get eaten by the bigger fish. The bigger fish are picking it up from the water that they live in, plus from the food that they're eating. So, if you eat like tuna too often, you will get mercury poisoning. And mercury is a neurotoxin. It affects the way you think, right? You do not want mercury in your diet. If you have black fillings, go get them switched out. Like, as soon as you can. If you have benefits like that, it covers it. Get your amalgam fillings out of this goddamn mouth right away. Because you are outgassing mercury into your brain every day. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to clean my teeth and brush my teeth. And you're using abrasive force on black fillings, right? And you outgas mercury into your system. And mercury is really, really toxic, right? And if you brush your teeth too, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, which I do this all the time in seminar. So somebody bring me back on track as to where I left off, because now I don't even remember. When it comes to like products that you're putting on your body, okay, you need to read the labels. For your food, you should be reading the labels because you shouldn't be buying food that has a label. Okay? Products have labels, food grows. Okay? So if you have anything that ends in sulfate, especially in your products, especially in shampoos and conditioners, sodium lauryl sulfate or sodium lauryl sulfate is an unbelievable carcinogen. You're just going to get in the shower and open up your pores and just rub that right in there. Cancer on my head, awesome. Right? Fluoride in your toothpaste. Fluoride is very, very toxic as well. It's another neurotoxin. So you have amalgam fillings and you're putting fluoride in your mouth. 2 brain toxins. Let's just rub them together. Awesome, right? You need to if there's anything you need to switch to natural, it is your cleaning products. Don't use Glade and aerosols and friggin' plugins in your house and outgas chemicals into the air that you're breathing, right? Because when we accumulate toxins are lipophilic. In English, that means toxins are fat-loving, right? So as toxins come into our system wants to protect itself.